When I decided that it was time to stop sailing, there were still many, many things to do. I mean, we have to think that sports in Spain started to have a good management because of the games in Barcelona. Before that, it was very little budget for sport, and if you don't have money, then you don't have much of a planning either. So when the games were coming to Barcelona in Spain, they started a movement, the Planado, which is like different companies would give in money for the athletes so that you could get a grant and be able to dedicate your time to prepare your sporting goal, which was great. But like everything that's new, it's not perfect. And so some athletes were getting more than others. Some of the money was staying, when it went through the federations. So there was, quite a bit of things going on. And I remember that I started speaking with the people that were managing sport at the time, asking them and telling them what was happening and how they could do things better. So yeah, I was very used to getting involved in these kind of issues of sport. And when I gave up, I decided that I wanted to get more involved and be able to change things that I'd been asking to be changed for a long time. So when I gave up sailing, it coincided that a year later, more or less, that sport was going to be included in the European institutions, in the Commission and the Parliament, and they were looking for someone who was able to speak languages and knew more or less how sport should be planned, so that they could go to the European Parliament and work there to be able to get sport included in the European Treaty, and also have the sport programs designed for the future. And they offered me this position, which, to be honest, at the beginning I thought, wow, what am I going to do there? I've got a 2-year-old daughter. I can't be going to Brussels every week. But then you can't start asking for things to change. And when you're asked to become and be part of the change, say no. So it's like, I would say an act of responsibility. In the end, I did it. I was going backwards and forwards for 5 years. And yeah, it was really, really interesting for me. And I think it was really good for sport as well, because, we did lots of things there that are happening now in Europe, and started in 1999, 2000, 2002, which is when all this really started moving. After that, I came back, and I was in the Spanish Olympic Committee for nearly 8 years. And also there was many things to be done to, in athletes' rights and take care of the athletes. For me, it's very important that the athlete has everything that he or she needs during their sporting career, but also thinking of what's going to happen afterwards. Because an athlete retires young. A moment, when you retire from your sport, it's like when you retire from your job, but with the difference that when you retire from your job, you're normally 60-something, and you have a consolidated life. You have normally a family, you have kids, you have a house, everything's economically pretty grounded at that time. Whereas an athlete finishes competing at 30-something. Now some go on to 40, but depends on the sport. And lots of times they still don't have a family. They still don't have a consolidated background. They don't know what they're going to do in their next phase of life, which is really important. And they don't have the money, because not in all sports you earn a good living. There are some that you end up with a lot of money, but most, when you finish, you've got to start again from zero, and you have to have something to start in. Then there was also a lot to be done in the Spanish Olympic Committee related to women in sport, maternity leaves, what's going to happen if you have a kid. I mean, I had my daughter after the Atlanta Games, and I went back into competing, and I was coming back up to my, top level, and because I was 9th in a world championship after that, I lost all kind of financial backing. And after having a year off because you've been a mother, it's not really that fair. It's not the same to be a mother or to be a father for an athlete. It's completely different. So this was something that I really wanted to tackle. And now, if a woman has a stop in her sporting career to have a kid, she's going to have all the support she needs to go back and to be able to go back to the position where she left the sport.